D, wait for it, delightful.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
What's up, nerds, and welcome to my week in review where I come to you every Sunday. Or in this case, I'm coming to you on Monday. Sorry about that, but if I don't record these before Sunday, then I just don't. I'm going to do them on Mondays because I spend Sundays the whole day with my kiddos and stuff. So sorry about that. With 3 entertainment stories that I personally find interesting, and then we discuss them down below. Now, also down below, you can find the articles that I read to bring you this video, and you can read them for yourself, or you can just watch this video, or I'm going to break them all down for you. Before I get started, I just want to say that if you like what I do here and you enjoy independent content here on YouTube, please consider subscribing to my channel. YouTube is always changing up their algorithm, and small channels like mine, we just keep getting shoved to the back of the line. So please ask that you like, share, and subscribe, and I thank you in advance. All right, so now that we got that business out of the way, why don't we go ahead and get started on these 3 stories. So for my first story this week, all right, you guys. So it looks like James Cameron, he's got his next movie on ready to go and everything. But we're going to talk about this, but he has bought the rights to the book Ghost of Hiroshima, right? And Last Train to Hiroshima, which was written by Charles Pellegrino. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but he sounds like the what Pellegrino. Like the water, love Pellegrino. San Pellegrino, so good. Anyways, so he's bought the rights to this book. Now, what is this book about? Okay, this is about a man named. Please don't be mad if I get his name wrong. I'm pronouncing it. It's a Japanese name, but it's Tsutamu Yamaguchi. Okay, Mr. Yamaguchi. I'm gonna say that. And basically what this story is about is this man survived both atomic bomb attacks during World War II on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And it's a fascinating story. Like it's so fascinating. I've decided that I'm going to read this book because I think that the story is just absolutely fascinating. So here's the article from Deadline, my favorite. And he's going to be doing this, it sounds like after Avatar 3. Okay. So just talk about his schedule a little bit. And James Cameron, he's done movies like Terminator. One thing in Terminator, and it's going to be really what I think is the most interesting part about this story is, and this movie is the fact that, remember in Terminator 2, right? When there's the big explosion. Okay. And Sarah Connor is standing at the fence and then in the playground and the blast just comes at her. So this will be from the perspective of someone on the ground when the bomb goes off. And I find that so fascinating, especially the fact that he survived. I find that so fascinating. It's terrifying and yet interesting at the same time. Like, I'm just like, how you can't really feel that in a movie, or at least I don't, but you wouldn't be able to feel that experience through a movie, but we can get as close as we possibly can without being in the situation. And I just find it very, very fascinating, and I'm 100% on board for this movie. And I can't wait to see this movie. So his schedule wise, when can he do this? Okay. So if Avatar, he's got these Avatar movies that he's doing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a huge fan of these Avatar movies. The first one I didn't think was all that great. And the second one was the second one was fine. They're both fine. But I don't hate them. Like, I'm not a hater. If you I don't go into these movies going, I'm going to hate all over this movie. I just go, okay, it was good, but I'm not one of these people that are jerking off to Avatar. You know what I'm saying? So he's got 5 Avatar movies that he wants to do, which I love that. I love that right off the bat. I love when somebody has this idea and they've set it all out and they know what they want to do. They just have to get the ball rolling. So the next movie he's going to do is definitely Avatar 3, where we get the fire Na'vi, which again, I'm all like, it's again, this world is very interesting, but at the same time, I personally just, don't care for it and everything. But this is not about Avatar. So he's going to be doing Avatar 3. Then after that, Avatar 4 and 5 are not coming out for a long time. In fact, I think they said something like they're I can't remember the word usage they use, but they're like shelved, but not like shelved, like they're not getting canceled. So I think he's going to do this movie in between those two Avatar movies. And if, and of course, Disney is going to let him do it. I think he's doing this with Disney. I can't remember in the article if they said that or whatnot. But they're going to be doing this in between those two movies. And I think that that's a good choice, kind of cleanse his palate, if you will, because I think that when you have, when you're a director like this, and don't get me wrong, love James Cameron. I think he's such a talent. There are so few directors these days that you just go, this is someone that's really talented. Like there are directors that I go, they're fine and they can do the job, but they're not great. I think like Spielberg is one of them. I think that Nolan is a great director. I think James Cameron is a great director. And so I think that this is going to be good in his hands. Speaking of Christopher Nolan, he just did Oppenheimer. And I think that this will be very, very Oppenheimer-esque, but not Oppenheimer. You know what I'm saying? Because you're dealing with an atomic bomb or whatnot. But I think it'll be interesting to see this man go through this situation in such a way that you just like you feel it. And I mean, I don't know. It just sounds. I don't know about you, but it just sounds so. And that's why I wanted to talk about this story. It just sounds so interesting to me. I just think that, like, what would you do if you were in, Nagasaki or Hiroshima, and you're just going about your day, right? And then all of a sudden, you just hear off into the distance this big, and you look over, and there it is, this big mushroom cloud, and then this just wave of just comes at you. And then you survive. How crazy is that? It sounds so interesting to me that I cannot wait for this movie. I really hope. I want him to finish Avatar 3 like toot sweet so I can get started on watching this movie. You know what I'm saying? In fact, a small piece of me wishes he was doing this movie before Avatar 3, but I don't think he will. I think he's going to do this after Avatar 3 because I think they've already filmed it. Because they filmed 2 and 3 together, I believe, if I remember correctly. So I just think this sounds. And now I do think that casting will be good. I think there's a lot of great Japanese actors out there. In fact, I just not like recently, but like recently watched Godzilla -1. And I'll tell you right now, that I did a review for that. You guys can check that out. That movie was fantastic. I loved it. And then and then Shogun on Hulu. We watched that. So good. I loved that. I can't remember the name of the actor, the main guy in there, but he did a great. I would hire him. He's great. I don't know who they could hire as the main guy, but whoever they do, I'm pretty sure they'll get the best they can because this project just sounds amazing, and I'm excited for it, and I hope you are too. All right, you guys. So that was my first story of the week. So for my second story of the week, all right, you guys. So Baz Luhrmann got his next movie in line, right? And he's doing it for Warner Brothers. I think that he definitely has, a home now at Warner Brothers, which is cool. I like Warner Brothers for the most part. I think they make a lot of bad decisions, especially when it comes to like DC. But you know what? It's besides the point, you guys. So what has he chosen? Well, he's chosen Joan of Arc. He wants to do a Joan of Arc movie, which I personally, I'm like, hey, that's totally cool and everything. But if you look at his filmography, I think that, and I'm throwing it up on the screen right now, I think he's got some very interesting movies. Now, I never saw Strictly Ballroom. I never saw that movie, so I have no idea what that movie's about. And I remember watching Romeo and Juliet in the 90s and liking it. But now if I went back and watched it, I don't know if I would like it. I really don't like the story of Romeo and Juliet. It just annoys me. And I don't really care for Shakespeare either. It's a thing. Don't get mad at me. Now, Moulin Rouge. Love Moulin Rouge. I love that movie. I remember when it first came out, I was obsessed. But then again, so was everybody else. And I think that, and I remember when I went and seen that in the movie theater, because I didn't know what I was getting into when I went to see that movie. I thought I was just going to go see a regular movie. And I didn't realize it was a musical. And I was totally surprised, and I just loved and people walked out because they did not like what they saw. And I was just like, why are you leaving? This is fantastic. You know, I did see Australia, but that movie just like, I don't even remember that movie very much. I was like, and I don't care. I don't care. The Great Gatsby was good. I like The Great Gatsby. And then Elvis. Now I have to be honest with you. I didn't care for Elvis, but it's only because I'm not a huge Elvis fan. Like the whole time watching it, I was like, I do not give a shit about Elvis and his career or his little manager dude. Like Tom Hanks, like I don't care about his character. Like I just don't give a shit. So, but at the end of it, I was like, no, that was a good movie. I don't care. But okay, back to Baz Luhrmann and this Joan of Arc movie. So I was seeing people online saying that this was like a teenage coming of age story, but it was like the ultimate story of coming of age. And I was like, oh, that's a good point, you know, like a Lady Bird, but with swords, you know. I thought that was I was like, that's interesting. That's an interesting take on it. But I just wonder if women and young girls these days give a shit about Joan of Arc. I mean, because there's been plenty of Joan of Arc movies. And then, you know, if you're like me and you learned about her in high school, like even then I was just like, all right, cool, you know, but at the same time, I'm like, you know, whatever. Because I'm sorry, Joan of Arc, like she just sounded like a big fucking crazy girl. You know what I'm saying? Because she had visions, which I'll talk about in just 1 second. But you know, I'll talk about it now. So I think that in this movie, the visions part will be kind of a thing, you know, because they did that in that Harriet Tubman movie with Cynthia Erivo, where they said she had visions, which I don't know if she had visions or not. I wasn't there. Same thing with Joan of Arc. I don't know if she had visions or not, but I wasn't there. And then they also alluded to it, or at least I think they did, because I don't remember that that Exodus movie with Christian Bale as Moses. I think they alluded to the fact that he had visions and whatnot. I don't remember that movie. I only watched it the one time, so I don't remember. No, same thing with all those movies. I only watched them one time. So I think that will be, you know, interesting, you know, but at the same time, I'm just like, why are we following this crazy person? And then I think that the battle sequences will be very, you know, integral to this movie because you gotta have these huge battle sequences. It's like a must, you know. So I think that'll be interesting to see that and what they do there. Now, as far as casting goes, they have to hire a French actress, and this is why. It really annoys me, and I'm not one of those people like representation and everything. But they have to hire a white girl and they have to hire a French girl, a woman. Okay. I would say hire someone around the age because I think she was 16. I would say hire someone around the age of 16 because it's really annoying. When they hire like a 32-year-old to play a 16-year-old and you're all like, honey, you look young. You don't look that young. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And then they need to hire a French girl because you know what's really freaking annoying when somebody does an accent and it's not good. Like, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of really good British accents, British actors out there and everything. But it just, when they do an American accent, it's like, sometimes I'm just like, it sounds really great when you sound like this in our movie parts. And you're all like, I think you missed the mark, honey. You know, I'm just like, I don't like it. So I think that if they're French, they'll have the French accent. And I think that's integral to the whole thing. I really do. Now, I did see Jenna Ortega and some people online saying that Jenna Ortega should play Joan of Arc because she is younger. You know, like they could hire a 20-year-old to play a 16-year-old. And Jenna Ortega is not only hot, she's so hot, but she is young looking. You know, when she was in Scream, I believed she was a teenager. Now, I want to also say that I don't think Jenna Ortega should play this part. And the reason is she's not French and she's Hispanic. She's a Latina, which I'm not dissing on that, but she looks Latina. And I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in that. I need someone that looks classically French. You know what I'm saying? And if you can, and you can call me whatever you want. I don't care if you think I'm racist, as long as you think I'm thin. But I need them to just be, you know, as authentic as possible, you know, especially when you're doing a historical drama like this. And if you're not going to do it, be as accurate as possible, then don't do it. I'm not interested in that shit, you know? And I know you're all mad at me now, but that's just how it is. And I am interested in seeing this movie. I probably wouldn't see it in the theater unless it looked really freaking good, but I probably would just wait until it came out on digital or streaming. You know, I'd probably just wait to buy it or whatnot. But let's see how this turns out and everything. I'm just, you know, like I said, I'm interested in this somewhat, but not overwhelmingly. All right, you guys. So that was my second story of the week. So for my third and final story this week. All right, you guys. So what are we talking about now? Okay, so finally Jennifer Lee is stepping down. She's getting demoted from chief creative officer over at Disney Animation. She's being replaced with Jared Bush. Thank God. Now, I personally think that Jennifer Lee has done a terrible job. Now, you can disagree with me all you want with that. That's fine. I don't mind disagreement, but we have to just look at some things or talk about some things, okay? So she took over as chief creative officer in 2018. And during that time, she totally brought forth A Wrinkle in Time. And if you remember that movie, it sucked. It was just terrible all the way through. It was fucking dog shit. That's how bad it was. And then she did the Ralph Breaks the Internet. Now she had worked on other movies before that. Like she had wrote Frozen and directed it, and that blew her up. Like they were like, we need this from her. And she also did some stuff for Wreck-It Ralph, which I love Wreck-It Ralph. And then Big Hero 6, she did some stuff on that, whatever. But she wrote the story for Zootopia, loves Zootopia, but she didn't write the screenplay. And then she did work on Moana. So all that stuff she had worked on beforehand, which is fine. I personally didn't like Frozen or Frozen 2, which I'll talk about in just a second. I don't like either one of those movies, but I understand why people liked them. And, you know, and good for her for doing that. But when she took over in 2018, because what's his face stepped down, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. She then just went on to executive produce some movies. Okay, so right after that, Raya and the Last Dragon. Okay, which was, I liked that movie. It wasn't great, but it was fine. You know, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. Then she did Encanto. Again, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. You know, you take out those two songs. You know, We Don't Talk About Bruno and the Strength one. I can't remember what that's called. Under the Surface. There, I take those two songs out, and the movie's very mid, like very mid. Those two songs elevate the movie, but after that, I'm just like, not so much. And then she went on to do Strange World and Wish. And I don't know how you feel about those movies, but here's how you should feel about those movies. They were both dog shit. They were terrible movies, bad choices on their part for picking those movies. And I think that under her leadership, Disney Animation has faltered, and not in a good way. It has faltered and it has gone downhill. And I think that new leadership like this is a good idea. And who did they get to replace her? They got Jared Bush. Now, who is Jared Bush? I don't know Jared Bush, but then I was looking him up and everything, and he did work on some stuff that I actually do like. He wrote Zootopia, which I'm all like, yes, please. Loved Zootopia. He wrote the screenplay for Moana, which I'm like, look at that. And then he also worked on all the other stuff that I had mentioned before. He had worked on Big Hero 6, like I said, and then he did do Ralph Breaks the Internet along with Jennifer Lee. He worked on some stuff on that, along with Frozen 2. And then he executive produced Raya and the Last Dragon. But then here's something that I didn't know. He directed and wrote Encanto, which I was like, shut up. Okay, look at that. Now, again, like I said before, I didn't hate Encanto, but I didn't love it. But my kids love it. And it's a huge hit on Disney Plus, you know. So right there, you know, he's got his Frozen, if you will, like Jennifer Lee had. And then he did go on to work on some stuff for Strange World and Wish, but that's his job. So I honestly do not think that Jennifer Lee has done a good job, and she's really faltered. And I'm glad to see that she's getting a demotion for this, because I think that if you do not, you know, you can have a miss, But if you're not delivering hit after hit after hit, and then a miss, or maybe a hit, then a mid, then a hit, I go, then, you're not delivering. I'm sorry, but 2 misses in a row, I just go, it's not really that great. And then Moana 2 had to be turned into a movie because it was going to be a show. I just go, maybe you're just not, the right person for this job. You just keep making bad decisions. And Bob Iger, to his credit, did say that there would be, people would start, having to answer for their mistakes and everything, which I think is good, hold people accountable. And Disney is in the business of making money, through entertainment. And again, she's just made bad decisions. Now, I do think that there should be some overall changes in leadership over at Disney. Bob Iger, I know people love Bob Iger, and I do think that he has done some good things. But in my personal opinion, Bob Iger set all this shit in motion. Like they want to blame Bob Chapek a lot of the time, but I just go, Bob Chapek wasn't there long enough to make any, movie decisions in terms of what was getting put into motion. And Wish was already in motion. Strange World was already in motion. He just did what he had to do. He did some other things that was stupid, but what are you going to do? There's this great New York Times article about that whole situation with Bob versus Bob. I was going to do a video on it, but I waited too long, and now it's gone unless you want to see it. Okay. But one last thing I want to say about who should be stepping down. That's Kathleen Kennedy. If you have seen any of my videos, I do not like that woman. I think she's horrible at her job. And I think that she needs to be getting the boot. I don't think they'll fire her outright. Same thing with Jennifer Lee. They won't fire her, either one of these women, outright, but they will push them to the side, have them step down or resign or whatever from their position, and then they'll just go on to like produce and stuff. Kind of like Amy Pascal did over at Sony. She was the head of the studio, and then those emails came out, and she resigned and then became a producer. And she's been actually prolific in her producing. So, good for her. All right, you guys. So those are my 3 stories this week. Tell me, what do you guys think about all of this? So tell me, what do you guys think about this Ghosts of Hiroshima movie that James Cameron wants to do? Are you like me and this just sounds 100% fascinating? I cannot tell you how fascinating this movie sounds to me personally, but I just think it just sounds so freaking good that I don't even know, what to do. Like it sounds really interesting, and just like I'm already like intrigued. So I hope it comes to fruition within the next couple of years, and I just really hope James Cameron knocks out of the park. I think he can do it, and I'm excited to see it. I think it'll be very, impactful to people, in terms of, like heart. Again, and James Cameron, I think he's a great director, so I can't wait to see this. Also, tell me, how do you guys feel about Baz Luhrmann doing this Joan of Arc movie? Do you think that this is something that people need to see and they're hangering for, or do you think this is just going to be like, like I said, like Lady Bird, but with swords, and you're just like, it was fine, like I liked Lady Bird, but I didn't like love Lady Bird. Or do you think this is just going to be an epic battle to the death kind of situation? And how are they going to handle her death? Because, she was burned, at the stake or whatnot. So it'll just be really interesting to see this whole, or what did she be? Yeah, she was burned. It will be interesting to see this whole situation come together, this movie come together. And, I do think Baz Luhrmann is a good director. So we'll see how he turns this shit out. Sometimes you gotta sissy that walk. You know what I'm saying? So let's see what he does with this. And then finally, tell me, how do you guys feel about Jennifer Lee stepping down, being demoted over at Disney, so Jared Bush can step up and be the chief creative officer at Disney Animation Studios? I think this is a great idea. I just went through it. Again, I think it's a great idea. I think that Jennifer Lee was not doing a good job. And I think that, getting somebody new in there, getting some fresh eyes might be what they need over there at Disney Animation. But that's all I got for you guys this week. Tell me what you guys think about all of this. You can go ahead and leave all your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go and hit that like button. I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys on my next week in review. You guys have a good week. Bye.
Hey nerds, if you like this video, go ahead and click that Geek What icon and subscribe. And if you like this video, go ahead and join me every Sunday with my Week in Review.